Hey guys, what's going on? So we're almost 2 weeks into spring training now, maybe a little bit more than 2 weeks, and some things have happened already. I mean, Clark Schmidt's gone down, and Aaron Boone, had open heart surgery yesterday to get a pacemaker put in, even though he's had an open heart procedure done in 2009, but it looks like he's on the mend and on the way to making a full and speedy recovery, which is great. But today, I want to focus on 7 teams that have made significant strides this offseason. Most of which are just stealth and under the radar, but very effective moves that they've made. Not many sexy ones, but very effective, and they've improved significantly this offseason. And I want to recognize them for that. Let me just make it clear now: the Dodgers are not on the list. The Padres are not on the list. Not the Blue Jays. Okay, so no Dodgers, no Padres, no Blue Jays. Those were obvious, kind of big, mostly blockbuster moves that they made. I want to talk about teams that have made incremental moves and that I think can be significant for the short term and the long term. So let's get to it, okay? And by the way, I'm going to grade the team soon, every team in all the divisions and stuff like that in baseball. But I want to make sure that the majority of the free agents are signed, because they could, some of these guys, and I'll go over, Jake Odirizzzi still available, Maikel Franco, Yasiel Puig, Edwin Encarnacion, Rick Porcello, Cole Hamels, Roberto Ozuna, relief pitcher Shane Green, Brad Peacock, David Robertson. So, and there's other guys too, but those guys, those are the most notable names. So these guys, any one of them or combination of them can improve a team's grade. And I don't want to give incomplete grades yet, so I'm going to wait until right before the season starts. And if some of these guys haven't been signed by that point, oh well, I'm still gonna do the grades before the season starts anyway. So you have that to look forward to too. So if you want to see that and you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you do so right now and hit that notification so you don't miss it. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Hope you enjoy the content well enough to come back and again hit that subscribe button. Even if you don't plan on watching all the videos, subscribing and is really, really helpful to the channel. It lets other folks know that it exists, and hitting the thumbs up is really helpful to the channel's growth if you enjoy the video. So I appreciate you either way. My regulars, you're the best. So let's get to it. San Francisco Giants. I'm going to go over 7 teams, okay? Quietly, they've made significant moves this offseason. They're not at the Dodgers or the Padres level, but that's fine. They brought back their ace Kevin Gausman, which was a smart move. They had to do that. Who else? Tommy La Stella, I think, was one of the most underrated moves this offseason, and it'd probably be one of the best moves any team could make this offseason. I really, really wanted him badly for the Yankees because I thought his versatility and his left-handed clutch bat would have fit in perfectly there, but I think the Giants are going to strike gold here with Tommy La Stella. They brought in Alex Wood, Jake McGee, so they boosted the bullpen as well. Matt Whistler is a left-handed specialist, and even John Krabby, I think it's called, Krabia. So they've made incremental moves, but those two, Gausman and Tommy La Stella, were the most notable. And I can see them quietly improving this offseason. Again, they're not at the level of the Padres and the Dodgers, but they don't need to be. They're still stealthily getting better. And this is why I want to mention these teams. These are teams that I encourage you to keep your eyes out for. Okay, and don't be surprised if they make significant strides this offseason. So, number 6, Kansas City Royals. Again, they're still in a very tough division, and they're quite a ways away from the Minnesota Twins and the Chicago White Sox in the AL Central. But I think with the moves they've made, they actually have the ability to potentially be competitive with the Cleveland Indians. Okay, I don't see the Detroit Tigers making much strides. They may marginally improve, but they've acquired Andrew Benitendi, the Royals, in a trade with the Red Sox. They've also added Carlos Santana from the Cleveland Indians, so they took a guy away from the team that they're competitive with. And they also brought in Mike Minor for the starting rotation. So again, and some other incremental moves, but they brought back Greg Holland and Wade Davis too. So they made some moves. I think there were minor league deals, but very likely they'll make the majors. But improvements in the bullpen and the rotation. But those two guys, Benintendi and Carlos Santana, I think are going to complement the other guys that they have with Merrifield and Soler and Perez. And I think they're going to be a much better team than they did before. Than they were before last year. And they were last year and before last year. So keep an eye out for Kansas City Royals. Milwaukee Brewers. This is a team I was actually frustrated with like a week ago because they weren't really making. I felt like they weren't making enough moves or just weren't active enough this offseason, particularly when they have this young dynamic bullpen duo and Josh Hader and Devin Williams. They have some young, really, really up-and-coming, good-looking starters too, Corbin Burns and Woodruff and some of these other guys. So they have a lot of young pitching, and but they have Yelich, and they have Lorenzo Cain. So, but they brought in Colton Wong, who's a versatile player, and can play multiple positions too. I think he's going to help stabilize the infield and be a nice addition to that lineup. He's also a clutch hitter. Derrick Fisher they brought in, Brett Anderson, so they boosted the pitching a little bit. But 2 days ago, they signed Jackie Bradley Jr. And now, in my opinion, to my knowledge, to my understanding, what I'm hearing is Lorenzo Cain's going to play in right field, Jackie Bradley Jr. in center, and Yelich in left. That is an absolute elite, super duper elite Gold Glove outfield. And they're also adding 2 nice pieces to the offense. He's not as heavy hitter as a George Springer is, but it doesn't matter. That defense and that outfield, they're going to stop a lot of balls. From being doubles, triples, and could be robbing some home runs too. So that is an outfield right there. So they in my opinion, they didn't. I wasn't going to have them on this list last week. They're on it now. Minnesota Twins, not the flashiest of moves, but one of the more competitive teams, one of the more the best teams in the AL Central. But most significantly, they brought back Nelson Cruz. But not to be ignored, they brought in J.A. Happ, and I think he's going to bring more value to the Twins than he would have the Yankees. Andrelton Simmons, I think, is an under the radar, but I think could be a very, very potent and effective move for them. He's going to improve the infield defense across the board and up the middle. And he's again not a thumper like Nelson Cruz, but he doesn't need to be. They have a really good lineup, and I think he's going to be a really nice fit there. Matt Shoemaker, and Alex Colome. Yes, I think that was a nice move that they made for that bullpen. They needed a guy, a legitimate frontline closer, and with the exception of Liam Hendriks, who was probably the best free agent closer in baseball, Alex Colome was not that far off, and they brought in a legitimate closer to complement. They always had some patchwork guys in the bullpen in the last couple of years, but Colome really, really helped stabilize that bullpen. So, again, not a lot of flashy moves, but very effective ones. Minnesota Twins. Not to be ignored with the Chicago White Sox. I wasn't originally going to have them on this list, but they actually had one of the more productive off seasons. They're already one of the better teams, but the moves that they made, acquiring Lance Lynn in a trade, Liam Hendriks signing him as a free agent away from the Oakland A's, the team who beat them last offseason, and this guy who dominated them in the postseason too. So bringing in the top relief pitcher in baseball just to add to that bullpen already. And adding Lance Lynn to that rotation, they made that's good stuff right there. And bringing back Adam Eaton, one of their more popular players, and even bringing back Carlos Rodon, giving the rotation a little bit of depth. They made some minor moves here and there, but right there, and again, not a lot of these moves, with the exception of Liam Hendriks, was a flashy one, but very, very effective. Okay, so they had one of the more productive off seasons. I was going to I would keep an eye out for them already, but now I'm going to keep an eye out for them as being one of the best teams in the American League. Period. Atlanta Braves. Again, one of the contenders in the National League already, but the National League East is so deep that it could be a game, a difference of 1 to 2 or 3 games between first and fourth place. I don't see the Marlins yet competing for a playoff spot, but this could go any way between them, the Phillies, the Nationals, and the Mets, all of which have had productive off seasons. But Atlanta, quite a few significant moves. They brought in Charlie Morton in free agency. Jason Kipnis. Who else do we have here? Drew Smiley, and which I think is another move. They've added 2 solid arms to the pitching rotation to add to those young guys and that young bullpen, a young dynamic lineup they already have. They brought back Marcell Ozuna, which was an absolute must for that offense and for that outfield. And we got one more here. Pablo Sandoval. Infield depth, but also he's been known for clutch hitting. So we'll see what we can get out of him. I don't expect much, but I still wouldn't be surprised if they acquired Chris Bryant in a trade to really, really upgrade at third base. But with the moves that they've made, again, quiet, not flashy. They're never really flashy, but adding to what they already have, to me, I could see them winning the National League East. I really could. But I could also see, but there's no guarantee. There's no there's no guarantee that that the Dodgers are going to win. It's very likely, but there's no guarantee. Everybody's got to stay healthy. They got to produce at the right time. And 162-game season is not a 60-game season. So it's going to be an interesting year. But I think the Atlanta Braves have had one of the most effective off seasons. And last but not least is the New York Mets. Now, I could have omitted them on this list, but I think, in my opinion, with the exception of the San Diego Padres and their ridiculous, actually I'm going to say it again, ridiculous offseason, the New York Mets have had one of the greatest off seasons of all time. Some flashy moves, some not flashy moves, but every single move I hear that I've seen them make is going to be, to me, is effective and efficient. Okay, between acquiring Francisco Lindor and Carlos Carrasco in a trade with the Cleveland Indians for some top prospects, also bringing in Trevor May for the bullpen, which I think is going to be very effective. And I think he's going to help complement Dellin Betances. He might even be able to help him and Edwin Diaz, another stabilizing arm, because those two guys are just very inconsistent. And bringing in a guy like this, I think he can help improve those guys. So, and the same goes for bringing in James McCann, a consistent, bona fide, top-notch catcher who I think can help all those three as well, as with the rest of the bullpen. And but not to ignore Jonathan Villarre, multi-positional guy, a versatile guy. They brought him in, and Kevin Pillar, another effective, good, solid outfielder. So they've made a lot of effective moves. They addressed the bullpen, the rotation, the infield, the outfield, the hitting. Across the board, they had the most effective offseason, in my opinion. Or the most balanced offseason. And I would definitely look out for them as contenders. But keep in mind, too, even though they traded Steven Matz to the Blue Jays for some prospects, not only did they bring in Carrasco, they're getting back Noah Syndergaard, okay, from Tommy John, and they re-signed Marcus Stroman, and I haven't even mentioned Jacob deGrom yet, defending two-time Cy Young Award winner, two consecutive Cy Youngs, and he's the best pitcher in the National League in my opinion, and one of the top three in all of baseball. That rotation, if they stay healthy and Syndergaard comes back, that is ridiculous, right up there with the Dodgers and the Padres. Okay, so that's my list. Again, please forgive me, if I didn't put the Padres and the Dodgers and Toronto on here. Toronto is already going to be competitive. The Dodgers and the Padres were too. These are teams that some folks have been writing off, but not a lot of folks even realize some of the moves that they made because they were so under the radar. So I wanted to recognize them. Okay, I will be grading every team, every league, and so on and so forth. So you obviously see the detail there, and I'll go into more detail for each team. But these teams right here, keep your eyes out for them. Okay, be on the lookout. Like Gibbs from NCIS says, a bolo. Be on lookout. Okay, I would not be surprised if some of these teams are much more competitive than people are thinking they might be. So that's provided everybody stays healthy too. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Keep an eye out for the next bunch of videos. And thanks so much for watching. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you next time.